Hi again then guys, and welcome to another Forza Horizon 3 speed build, and this time we've got a requested tune in particular for the Abarth 500. As you can see, I've got it visually tuned in such a way that it's more of a sleeper. To some degree it's got that kind of normal Fiat 500 appearance rather than the Abarth model. Of course that's totally down to you. You can fit whatever visual parts you want, it doesn't really matter that much in terms of performance. As far as the conversions go, I would recommend swapping it to the 2-litre straight 4 engine option. The turbo rally engine just doesn't give you the same kind of upper power advantage really that engine does. As far as the drivetrain, I have got all-wheel drive. You don't have to fit it, you could go for rear-wheel drive or even keep it front-wheel drive if you wanted to. I would recommend all-wheel drive of course for launch, and it helps a lot off-road, but you don't have to. As far as the aspiration, we've got of course the single turbo conversion to get the best numbers out of the engine. For the visuals, I already said it's down to you, and for the rest, fit all of your racing parts. So the tyres, the brakes, suspension, differential, everything. Now as far as the tuning side of things, which incidentally is not on my storefront, this is one of my YouTube exclusives, so if you want to have this tune, you will need to copy this one rather than searching the storefront for it. But as you can see, it's pretty rapid, to say the least. In fact, the top-end speed is among the better hot hatches in the game, which is perhaps surprising, given how small and relatively unassuming the car looks. The definition of a sleeper. Now, as far as the gearbox, I'd recommend 3.2 on the final drive, then individual gears of 2.9, 1.89, 1.42, 1.14, 0.95 and 0.81. Then for the alignment, we've got neutral, camber and tow, as I often do. Of course you can change that around though, especially if you leave it front wheel drive or rear wheel drive. As far as the caster, I've got that on 4 degrees, but of course you can mess around with that, especially on a smaller car. Different handling styles will suit different people. Anti-roll I've got on 28, front and rear. Springs on 128, 96, and I've opted for the lowest ride height. Dampers I've got on 16, 10, 7 and 5. Aero of course doesn't apply. And for the diff, you've actually got a couple of options. As with some of these smaller, more production-based, non-all-wheel drive vehicles to begin with, when you do adjust the acceleration bias, it can sometimes hinder the benchmark acceleration. Now if you put the acceleration settings to 0 instead of 100, it will do 0 to 100 in 5.4 instead of 5.7. But it doesn't exactly make it handle that well, so I wouldn't really recommend it. But of course it's down to you. Depends if you want better acceleration in a straight line, or if you want the handling to at least be a bit better. So it's down to you, of course. We've got 0% on decel, but as always, feel free to mess around with settings. That's the whole point of these tunes. And we've got a 70% center split. And I would recommend keeping it somewhere around 70 for a car like this, because you've got such a tiny wheelbase, and it's such a small car to have that much power in, that you really need that control going to the front end if you are going to use all-wheel drive. If you're going to use it, you might as well use it properly and get the most out of it. But that's it for the tune. So now, of course, let's take it out on the street to see if it can actually hit that very impressive top speed. Now, as far as pure top-end speed goes, this is not necessarily unfortunately, but it's just a fact, one of those vehicles which doesn't rocket up to that top speed as quickly as some. It does struggle once you get up past, say, 225, 226, but still, if you have a long enough road, you can get up around 230, especially when traffic isn't getting in your way, as it does so often for me. But the point is, it is one of the quickest hatchbacks in the game. There are very few hatchbacks with similar power, especially that can outrun this one, and it's a monster, it really is. And you can, if you choose to, as with many of my tunes, detune this using the same essential concept, but removing some of the parts, especially the tyres in particular, to have essentially the same performance but in a lower class. And a lot of people don't realise that. You don't need to do everything that I've done in this video to get the same performance. You can remove things to have it in a different class if you want to. So I definitely recommend trying something like that with this car. And overall, if you did enjoy this tune, you can click through at the end of this video to see hundreds more that I've done for Horizon 3 as well. But for now, as always, thanks for watching.